invite Team 2 to ask Team 1 any questions that they would like to ask. You also get 5 minutes. Okay, are you ready, Team 2? Your first question starts now.
To Team Doug here. What is the cost if you do free work? Do you feel there's a cost to doing this work for charities, and how do you show that to charities? If you say I'll do something for free, do you feel the charities appreciate what you do, and how do you show what money that has cost you?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work very well, but it does. Thanks. Well, I have an agency, and agencies have a fee structure, and so this doesn't go up or down based on whether or not we're working for a nonprofit or whether or not we're working for a corporate. So basically, when we look at the books, we always know how much a particular campaign or activity is going to cost, and that is very real. That's what gets reported to the IRD and various other things, and that's what makes it on the book. How it's reported, whether or not it's pro bono work or whether or not there's cash received for these particular services, that's the difference. But I'm not really sure that's what you're asking. How I manage my accounting in my books. I think is what you're trying to do is suggest how is it that if we do pro bono work, how is it that we can tell the charity that we've accomplished something significant? Well, whenever we work with a client, we always figure out what it is that's most important to them. And with charities, it isn't always about necessarily pulling in the money. Okay, I understand that that's the primary focus of it, but a lot of times it's just about raising awareness. Sometimes it's about thanking existing donors. Sometimes it's about getting the important message out. And there isn't necessarily a direct connection between that and getting revenue back. You can't see that direct connection. You hope it is. And these are some of the things that a lot of the charities that we work with have helped with, asking us to amplify their particular messages. And also, one of the things that we do when we go out and we spread the messages is we create a network that probably, hopefully, is a lot stronger than when we started. And we give back to them what we like to think of as marketing equity. If they've got a Facebook page, let's say, with 256 of their favorite friends on it and stuff like that, it's not going. And the top to bow, which is that little number about how people are engaged and so forth. And they're struggling to get it going. By being able to show them, at least from an educational standpoint, about how to manage a page well. And we get them from the 256 of their friends and stuff like that. And we get them up to the 8,000 or so of their engaged fans. And they start to see a turnover every day of 400 people every day logging onto their page and commenting or liking or saying or showing something. And it's just because of the fact that we've taught them or educated them on some of the operational characteristics of it. This is very important because we've taken them from probably relative obscurity to having a platform in which they can continue to communicate and build. And I think these are some of the things that professional agencies such as mine are really beneficial in being able to demonstrate for charities.
Yeah, you have one more. You can have one more question. There's a minute and 49 seconds left.
How do you convince your supporters if you spend on social media? Do you allocate a budget, or how do you convince them that your donation or support will be used?
Okay, that's a great question, and this is where this argument line blurs, because I also really believe in the pro bono side, but it's more of the management of third-party time as opposed to just like money that is important, and as opposed to being in-house. A lot of big foundations and donors today, at least in our cause, where we're not trying to build or make something, it's about education. How many people did you reach? And if you have a tool that maybe even does cost some money to make because it's original and it's fit for this situation, and you can show that, wow, with this thing, and then using other social media, you could get 50,000 or 200,000 people using that tool. It might have cost $5,000 to make an app, or who knows what, US. But because of that, you then get all of these things happening in a chain reaction. I think that's where you can really validate that spending that money can just be exponentially valuable on that cause or issue. So maybe it's a bit case dependent, but a lot of the foundation and donors today really want to see scale and reach in a lot of cases. And if you can prove to them that by having this management situation, and you have the metrics, and you have the types of users that are hitting you, then that's something that they will respect.
Thank you very much, Doug. So now we'd like to invite Team 1 to ask Team 2 any questions that they may have. And your first question starts now.
Yeah, my first question. There's been a lot of talk about pro bono work and getting corporations, not necessarily the donors, in order to put up the money for social media. But we do know that a lot of the corporations are the ones that are making probably the larger donations. And increasingly, as social media becomes more and more important, corporations are looking for recognition for their donations. So they're expecting to get something back. And the something back usually looks like a report that says you've been seen by this many people, and social media is increasingly playing a more and more important role on what that report comes back. Without the assistance of a professional agency in order to be able to manage this, and especially manage corporate brands, which are very particular about how they are perceived in the larger population, in social media, and being able to come up with a report that actually shows with some level of detail that they were getting their money's worth. Okay, I don't want to make this crass, but that is the world we live in. How does this work? I mean, how does this do this manage this without professional agency?
Thanks, Doug. That's a great question. It's a really hard question. So now I've got 3 minutes and 38 seconds to say look at Penny. Looking at Penny, everybody look into her eyes for 3 minutes. Seriously, of course, a very, very fair question. I think, obviously working for Cathay Pacific, one of those big evil money-making corporations you speak of, it's very true. I mean, how does a corporation give their money? And of course that's very important. As we know from working in China, where does the money go? And if you're a corporation, if you're a corporation, that's a big, big question to ask. I tend to agree with you. I think I agree with other Doug. The line blurs here, right? We do need agencies to offer support. We need structure in terms of non-profits. And I think if you do something for free, as Doug alluded to, when you give time for free, sometimes you don't actually make good on the delivery. So I think that is an issue that every non-profit has to think about, is if you take this work for free off an agency, are you going to be able to push them for deadlines? And are you going to get the exact service that you want to push to receive? So I think it's a very, very fair question. I think it's something that an NGO has to balance between, do I want it for free, or do I think it's worth paying for? And if you've got big corporate clients, again, I think that line is even more and more blurred. But Cheng Joe is possibly better sort of on this subject than I am.
I want to give an example. I have two equally popular Chinese version of Twitter account. One was built by myself organically, only 2,000 followers, and it was, they all voluntarily signed up to follow me. But the other one was, set up by that company, and I have 23,000 followers. So it's 11 or 12 times more people than the other one. But I find that the one with only 10% of the followers tend to be much more active. When I post something on both, the response is very different. Sometimes one message can be forwarded 20, 30 times by different people, and the chain is just getting bigger and bigger because they follow me because they are interested in our story, in our work. But the other 20,000 was some of them were allocated and assigned and generically. So my point is, if we do it on a voluntary basis, the good thing is all of the people are genuinely interested in the cause, and they tend to be much more active. I think if you outsource it, it could be more professionally done. The number, the scale may be there, but I'm not sure if the activity and the interest level would be the same as being grown organically. But again, once it has grown to that level, whether it is managed or organically or managed by some people in-house or professionally, could be done either way. It is the matter of growing the supporter base. And I think, finding someone outsourced and immediately you have 100,000 followers could be one way, but the engagement level.
Thank you very much, Chantel, and thank you both teams. I can see that you have very, very solid arguments on both sides. So I'm excited to see what the voters, you guys, are going to say. So now we're going to open the questions to the audience. Since we have extra time, we're going to ask many questions. There's no time limit. And also, while we're asking the questions, you can also start to vote using the Twitter hashtag #SMWHKSM4SG as seen on the screen. So all of you can continue, start voting now, and we'll take the first question. Does anybody have a question?
Yeah, and just to clarify, if you're voting for Team 1, also put a hashtag for #1, Team 2, #2.
For Team 1.
Team 1, Team 2.
Can we bring up the hashtag because I forgot it?
Oh, it's right there.
On the bottom, right?
Oh, I can see it. There we go.
So have you got people paid to vote? Have you got people paid for voting or not? In this
I don't know, do you?
Okay, so in the argument for non-profits should spend on social media, given the reach of social media, what proportion of, say, a marketing budget do you think would be appropriate for a non-profit to spend on social media?
I'll try to tackle that. Well, I guess it depends on the size of your nonprofit and if you have resources. So right now we're small and we don't have a lot of money. So all of our media, which we don't have any of, would be free or through pro bono agencies. And we do have some print and media that is happening. So I guess I would err on the side of putting more resources into the social media side because I think the leverage on that, personally with digital, will be a lot more than if I was going to spend $10 on an ad in the paper or spend $10 for someone to create me a very cool app that can reach across nations. I would spend the $10 on the app and I could justify that. And so I would try to leverage the print or outdoor or whatever I might have in the community and get my social media onto that. But I'd spend the money in a creative, cool way because I think that's where it's going to go and scale. And it's infinite in its time. If you put an ad in something, unfortunately, printed, gone, in the bin, recycling, hopefully the next day. But on digital media, we can keep that thing going for 10 years or something if it's something that's viral. I mean, if it's an app that on goes as opposed to just some message.
Next question.
I have a question for Team 1. Do you think that you have the responsibility to look at your